Hello, this is From Beyond The Paign, an Illinois basketball podcast. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody_CHGO and on TikTok. Man, let me clear the throat. Oh my gosh. Let's start with the bad news. Illinois loses 77-71 to Purdue in a heartbreaker in all aspects. Not necessarily the most heartbreaking loss of the season. I'm not even really angry. I'm just fucking sad. I just tweeted out a video of Brad Underwood from his post game that, in a way kind of fired me up, but it kind of explained why I stan him so much and why I'm such a big fan of him. You can go check that out if you want, but it's from his post game. His entire post game was good tonight, I think. Anyway, this is the therapy session, as I like to call it. Illinois loses 77-71. Purdue is your outright Big Ten champions. Big of me to say out loud. Credit to me. Listen, man. I've said all season that Purdue is that team. They look like Virginia from a few years ago after losing to the 16 seed. I've said that all season, that they look like a team that is determined, that has that chip on their shoulder, that, they should be a Final Four team this year. They should. Their guard play is better than last year. Braden Smith has taken such a huge jump this year compared to last year. And he was already a good player last year. Fletcher, Loyer, who went through parts of the season kind of struggling with the jump shot, of course, puts up 16 points tonight, 7 straight at one point in that second half. And then, of course, Zach Edey, who is who everyone talks about, right? Everyone talks about Zach Edey. And rightfully so. He's the best player in the country, right? Best big man in the country if you don't want to count guards. And it's largely because he is 7'4", 7'5", whatever the fuck it is. He's a unique player in college hoops. There's no denying any of that, right? I guess what I'm doing right now is I'm giving credit where it's due, and that's what I do. All right. I'm not going to sit here and cry and complain about certain calls, certain moments. There were a few plays in the game that pissed me off. But at the end of the day, I felt like Illinois played the best game they could have, and they didn't win. And I feel defeated because of that. Right? Like, I have no excuse for Illinois. I just think Purdue is better. And I'm sad because they had such a great first half. They played so well in that first half. And even in that second half, I felt like they still played well, but it got more defensive in the second half. Both teams started to guard, right? Illinois didn't hit any threes. Purdue, you felt like Purdue had most of the momentum from that, probably about that 13-minute mark on in that second half. And it was a dogfight, man. It was a dogfight. And I still feel really good about Illinois going into the Big Ten tournament and NCAA tournament. But do I think if they get matched up with Purdue for a third time, do I think they're going to beat them? No. I just, plain and simple, like, I really don't. And I hope I don't have to witness it. I really don't want to have to witness it. All right. So I'm giving credit where it's due, because I've had to read and watch a lot of Purdue fans complain about the refs on social media for like this entire season. It's like, y'all have lost 3 games and you went on the road again and beat a premier program tonight. Just enjoy your fucking team, man. I think this Illini team offensively is as good as we've seen in my life. It's right up there with 04-05 Final Four team. This is the best Purdue team I have ever seen. Far none. The best Purdue team I've ever seen. All right. So that's why I always call the fans from from that fan base out, because it's like, dude, just enjoy what you have, bro. Enjoy that you have one of the best teams in the country. All right. So again, I think Matt Painter is an incredible coach. I know he hasn't won the national title. I know they've had their hiccups in March, this and that. I don't care. He's done everything you could ask a guy to do to build a program to where it's at. Yeah, they need to do better in March. Sure. A lot of coaches you got to say that about, right? Right. So I just, I'm tipping the cap, man. That I thought Illinois played as good as they possibly could have, and they still lost. And that aspect, I just feel super defeated, man. I feel really defeated from this. Marcus Domask did everything he could in those final few minutes to keep Illinois there, to keep Illinois close. Like, obviously the difference in this game is Terrence Shannon Jr. had an off night. And is it largely because he got those 2 fouls early? I don't think so. Could have came out a little bit more aggressive in the second half. I do think Purdue did a good job of not letting him get out in transition. Every time Illinois got a defensive rebound and he got the ball, I felt like I was begging them to push. And I felt like they didn't take advantage enough of those opportunities, or maybe Purdue's transition defense is just that good tonight. It was that good tonight. I don't know. But he didn't get it going, man. 3 of 13 from the field, 11 points. You got a legacy game from Quincy Guerrier tonight. He was great in the first half. 12 points, 3 of 4 from the 3-point line. He missed couple free throws that ended up looming large, but whatever. The way he'd been playing the last, honestly, most of Big Ten play, I don't know what to expect from him anymore, right? He gave you 12 points tonight. Coleman Hawkins, I thought, was solid. He only had 1 foul of the night, and he had to guard Zach Edey all night. And I thought he did everything he could have defensively. Sure, I wish he could have attempted a few more shots. The fact that he only took 1 3, maybe that would have changed things defensively for Purdue if maybe he had forced Edey to really come out there and guard him. And the thing is that anytime Ty Rodgers was out there, they just put Edey on him. But then Illinois also, they tried going big with Hansberry and Dane. At the end of the day, like, they just didn't put Edey on Coleman nearly as much. But there were stretches where I felt like they could have taken advantage of it, and maybe they didn't. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass and I just don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, 13 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, 5 of 10 from the field. Illinois didn't get much from the bench at all. Goody hit a 3 early that I thought was huge. Dangerous, he played 7 minutes, 4 points. I thought he could have played a little bit more in the second half. Hansberry came in just straight up foul. That was basically what Hansberry's minutes were. He jacked up a 3, didn't make it. Moretti didn't do much of anything except dribble around and get cardio in. Harmon was out there for 21 minutes, but didn't do much of anything scoring wise. He missed a couple wide open threes, a couple threes that honestly would have changed the game if he was able to, knock him down. He took 2 threes and missed them. They lost by 6, right? They just didn't get enough out of their stars tonight to negate the fact that you got nothing off the bench. When they were at Wisconsin, Dane and Harmon were great. They got nothing off the bench tonight. Maybe defensively, Harmon did his part, but the fact that Goody's out there for 19 minutes and only takes 2 shots, and I think both of them were in the first half. What did he do in the second half? I got nothing for you there, right? So they were really relying on the 4 guys of Shannon, Domask, Hawkins, and Guerrier, and Again, Guerrier showed up on senior night. I'll give him the credit. Hawkins was fine. Would have liked more aggressiveness. Domask was as good as you could have hoped for, and Shannon had an off night. And I'm frustrated that this is how Terrence Shannon's senior night is going to be, but he has been great. So it's hard for me to get too upset because he's been consistently great since February. So, Ty Rodgers, I thought he had a much better game against Purdue than he did at Mackey Arena. So, yeah, it's just it's a bad matchup for him, as we've talked about in the past when it comes to Purdue and Illinois playing. So, yeah, I mean, there were certainly some plays there in that second half that are the reason they lost this game. We can go through them really quick. Let's see here. And I'm seeing all of you in the chat. Continue to leave your thoughts. I'll get to them. Also, if there's 157 people watching, please hit the like button. If you're new here, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If it's your first time, please hit the like button as well. It helps other Illini fans find the podcast. They do pre and post, or not necessarily pre, but do watch alongs, do post game shows after every Illini game. At least try to. It's not my full time gig, but we try to do the thing. All right. So I'm trying to think. There was a moment in the second half. Illinois trailed at 6:59. Mason Gillis hit a 3-pointer to make it 64-58. Illinois calls a timeout. And I'm not going to lie to y'all, I felt like that was the turning point. As a Cubs content creator, what Pat Hughes always says, that like the all-important, like the turning point of the game, of momentum in some aspects. And that's what I felt like. I felt like that was the moment where Purdue was like, it was the first dagger, right? But, Illinois didn't give up, and I really admired their comeback in that. I know it was only 6 points, but that game was so close for so long, and Illinois led for a large part of this game. They come out of timeout, he turns it over, but then Braden Smith turns it over, and it leads to a Coleman Hawkins dunk, makes it 64-60. Fletcher Loyer missed jumper. Domask gets it, goes down in the next possession, gets a driving layup. Zach Edey in the post next time down. He misses. Illinois gets the ball. Domask again hits a layup to tie the ball game. So it's like Illinois responded right then and there, and I did not see that coming. But it showed the kind of fight that this team has, and it reeled me all the way back in. And it was one of those moments where I felt like in the past, against really good teams, they hadn't really done that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing a moment. Maybe I'm not thinking of a particular game. But they really responded. Maybe it's because they're at home. Maybe it's because they have grown as a team. It's March. The what this game means, all these things. Anyway, it's 64-60 or 64-64. All right. So Damascus that layup. Purdue calls a timeout. They come out of the timeout, 3:52 to go. Edey misses a layup. Illinois gets the ball. I believe Terrence Shannon Jr. He ends up getting fouled. He gets to shoot free throws. He makes both. So Illinois is actually up 66-64 at that point with 3:25 to go. And then Fletcher Loyer with 3:08 hits a 3-pointer. And then Illinois tries to answer back quickly. Justin Harmon, one of the threes that I said he shot, he missed. He was wide open. I didn't even hate the shot. Even though it was quick, he was wide open. He misses. Gillis gets the rebound. And then Fletcher Loyer comes back down, hits another jumper with 2:30 to go. Makes it 69-66. Nice. Illinois comes back down. Shannon misses a layup. They get the rebound. Braden Smith jacks one up mid-range. Gets his own rebound. That's with 1:37. And they were eventually, I think Harmon fouled Fletcher Loyer after they reset and tried to run something. And it was Fletcher Loyer again. This is when he scores those 7 straight points, right? 71-66. All right. So it's a minute and 27 seconds left in the game, and Illinois goes from being up 2 to down 5. So it was a roller coaster in that moment, right? It was a roller coaster. And somewhere in there, and I'm thinking that maybe I can't remember, but there was a moment in there in this stretch where Marcus Domask, I want to say, is guarding Braden Smith. And maybe I haven't got there yet. No, I think I have already. We definitely are back. Maybe it was before the sequence I'm talking about. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the video. But there was a point where Marcus Domask kicked the ball. I want to say it was Braden Smith. They were basically out at half court. Marcus Domask is face guarding him, playing press defense on him. And he's just dribbling, and Domask's foot somehow hits the ball that he's dribbling, and it gets knocked away, and the refs end up calling a foul. If there was one or two moments from this game that pissed me off, it was that, because that was not a foul. It was just a kick ball. But because Purdue was in the bonus, Braden Smith got to shoot free throws. It went from, I believe at the time, being a 3-point game to a 5-point game. And I feel like that's somewhere in this stretch that I'm talking about. I just don't remember exactly where. I'm pretty sure it was Braden Smith. And I'm looking for Braden Smith free throws in this play-by-play on ESPN. And I'm not seeing it. Maybe I just missed it. I don't know. Either way, that was a really frustrating moment. And I feel like that kind of took some momentum away, right? Maybe it was Fletcher Loyer and not Braden Smith. I don't know. But I think everyone watching this knows what I'm talking about. The moment I'm talking about, that was not a foul. It was quite literally a kicked ball. So if there was one moment from this game that I am going to bitch and cry about, it's that, because objectively it wasn't. It just objectively wasn't. And you can argue it changed the game. Okay? All right. I got that out of my system. I can't wait to yell at a wall about it after the show. Anyway, we're at 1:27. After Loyer hits these free throws, Domask comes down. He ends up getting fouled. They make it 71-68. Then next possession, Purdue drives. I want to say it was Braden Smith. Maybe it was Loyer. I think it's a teardrop. I can't remember what happened. But anyway, Zach Edey gets the offensive rebound, and he's like right there. And I'm surprised he didn't try to just put up. Instead, he passes out to Lance Jones in the corner. And honestly, Lance Jones didn't have the best game. He played so much better against Illinois at Mackey Arena. Tonight, he hit the big shot when it mattered most. That hits that three with 54 seconds. It's 74-68. And at that point, I'm definitely just done. Like I feel like the game is over. But then the next possession, Domask comes down and hits a layup with in a matter of 10 seconds, 44 seconds, he hits a layup and is fouled. So you're able to get those 3 points back quickly. 44 seconds, it's 74-71. The final possession that Purdue had that everyone is probably talking about. Let's just acknowledge the fact that Purdue comes down and Lance Jones forces a shot with all kinds of time and does like it. If he misses this and Illinois secures the rebound, he could have been the reason they lost the game. Could have been. But he gets bailed out because he misses the jumper and then Illinois cannot secure the rebound. And there was like 3 Illini there, and they just didn't get there, man. Offensive rebound by Fletcher Loyer, the most white guy name on their team. Like, you just anyway, that allows them to waste clock, and Braden Smith hits this desperation 3. And I'm calling it a desperation 3 because, like, he quite literally, they did nothing. They just dribbled out the clock and he jacked a 3 up and it went in. And listen, I give him all the credit. And I said, like I said at the beginning of the show, he's a great player. All Big Ten. Again, great player. But if he misses the 3 and Illinois goes down and ties it, we're talking about what the fuck is Purdue doing in that entire sequence. Instead, he hits the 3, he saves them, and it's over, you know? Illinois shoots a 3 on the next possession, doesn't get it, and, they run it out. Like, it was anticlimactic in the final 20 seconds. And it just, like, this is what brings me back to what I said about Illinois, like, I felt like they played such a great game and they did everything that they are good at, but they just didn't make the big plays that they actually, or not necessarily the big plays, but like the small plays when they absolutely had to win this game. At the end of the day, to me, that's why they lost. And whenever it's 2 teams like this going neck to neck, 2 top teams in the conference, one team's the number 2 team in the country. The other team is the number 12 team in the country. I guess they're rivals because Purdue or West Lafayette isn't that far from Champaign. Do I consider Purdue a rival? I guess in recent years, sure, because Purdue is kind of, they're in their golden era of their program's history, right? And Illinois has been great the last 5 years, objectively, in terms of wins and losses, right? These 2 schools have been the best in this conference the last 5 years, total, like as far as consistency, right? So sure, we can say that this is a rivalry in some aspects. I still think Iowa is our main rivalry, but whatever. Beside the point. It's heartbreaking, man. I just felt like Illinois played as good a game as they absolutely could, and they just lost. And that doesn't mean that I don't think that they can't go to a second weekend. It doesn't mean that if, the bracket sets up for them that I don't think they can somehow find themselves in the Final Four. I'm not saying that, but like, I can't objectively sit here and say that they're better than Purdue. I just can't. So yeah, that's just what it is, man. I don't know. Like, there were moments in this game where I felt like Illinois was going to run away with it, but largely it was just because Purdue missed some easy shots. Like, perhaps maybe Purdue, they missed some freebies and Illinois didn't take advantage. They had a great first half, man. The offense was great in the first half. I thought their defense was great. If there's any great, like, positive spin zone from this, is that Illinois' defense was as good as it's been all season today, right? I think we can all objectively say that. I don't I'll say this. Illini fans shouldn't feel discouraged going into Iowa on Saturday, and they shouldn't feel discouraged about the Big Ten tournament. And I honestly feel good about the NCAA tournament. Now, if they fucking shit the bed and don't make the second weekend again, then oh man, we can all bitch about it, I guess. Like I this is the best team, in my opinion, that Brad Underwood has had. And Brad Underwood has had a team that had Io DeSumo, Adam Miller, Kofi Coburn, and Trent Frazier on it. Like, I think this team is better. And I think it's built better for March than those Io DeSumo teams. That's the big takeaway I can take from this game. This is not a moral victory. This is not a moral victory. I hate the fact that we lost to Purdue twice this year. I absolutely hate that we lost to Purdue twice this year, all by single digits. And I know after the game at Mackey Arena, we sat on the post game and we somewhat basically said moral victories and said you didn't have Terrence Shannon and you lost by 5, and they almost blew the game. Tonight, they come into your building that was rocking. You had the Orange Crush sitting outside the State Farm Center at 7:30 this morning, waiting to get their asses in the game, into the arena. And they were ready, and that place was rocking. That was as great of college basketball environment that I could have been able to feel from the television. That game is why I love college basketball. Like, objectively, if I wasn't an Illinois or Purdue fan and I just wanted to be interested in college basketball, that is a game that would have piqued my interest and made me want to watch again. That was an incredible game. Man, why can't my team come out on the right side? Just one fucking time, man. All right. 213 of you watching right now. Credit to you. All right. Please hit the like button. Let's go to the comments. What's up, Fighting Illini 23? Victor, I see you. Flynn, hello. Dingus McCracken won the first half by 6, lost the second half by 12. That's it. That's the story. I mean, long story short, you're not wrong there, Dingus. You're not wrong, man. I will say that even though they didn't score as easily in the second half, the fact that they defended is what leaves me feeling okay about how they played in the second half. Sure, they didn't take advantage of certain situations. They couldn't score when they needed to. They didn't get the loose balls, the 50-50 balls. You know, you let Fletcher, Loyer cook you in the last 3 minutes of the game, right? And you lost the game. There obviously isn't all positives here. But I just felt like the defense was the reason that they were able to stay afloat for most of this game. And I feel like that's encouraging. Fighting Illini 23. I'm worried about it because it might downward spiral into the postseason. We've never gone on a 2-game losing streak once this season. Can't happen. I think that's what you're trying to say. Never gone on a 2-game losing streak once this season. Can't happen. I mean, the game against Iowa this weekend it's huge. I mean, you can quite literally end Iowa's season. They're like on the bubble, right? And I think there's a lot to play for here. And I know I haven't forgot what happened at Iowa last year. And I know that Coleman Hawkins and Terrence Shannon and Ty Rogers and Luke Goody haven't forgot what happened at Iowa last season. I know you already beat Iowa once, but there's something about beating Iowa at Iowa. I think that they will get up for that game. And they're going to get a good test from Iowa because they're playing for their NCAA tournament lives. Dingus McCracken, first half Purdue shot 17% from 3. By the end of the second half, they raised it up to 56. Yeah, I mean, that's fair too. They didn't shoot well from 3 in the first half, and it was largely because Illinois just let Zach Edey eat. They barely double teamed. I felt like early second half, Brad started to bring the double team on those first couple of possessions, and it didn't work, and they were able to hit a couple threes early. If I look at it correctly, the first shot they made of the second half, Braden Smith 3-pointer. The next bucket they hit after that, Fletcher Loyer 3-pointer with 18 minutes to go. So yeah, they kind of set the tone with those two guys hitting those threes, and part of their comeback. I mean, they're only down 6 at halftime. For them, that's nothing, right? But those 2 threes, I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves right, Illinois was bringing the double team on Edey, and it, didn't help. I felt like the rebounding, I felt like Illinois rebounded significantly better against Purdue tonight than they did at Mackey Arena, but they still gave up certain offensive rebounds at critical moments. And the start of the second half, I feel like one of those 2 possessions, they should have been able to secure a rebound, and they weren't able to do it. It led to them hitting a 3. Mac, Dane not play in the second half. Yeah, again, 7 minutes. He'd been getting more minutes of late. I don't know if it's a matchup thing. I thought he played so well in the first half for what they're asking him to do. Had a big and one, didn't make the free throw, but he was not afraid of Zach Edey down there. And so, yeah, I am curious to why they didn't play more Dane in the second half. I mean, he brought in Hansberry before Dane, and Hansberry mainly went out there to foul. It was honestly comical. It's in some aspects. So I was like, oh, they're bringing Hansberry in to maybe, I know he's got that 3-pointer. Maybe he's a little bit bigger. They're trying to use fouls, something of that aspect. He went out there and fouled. That's basically it. I don't know. What's up, Sonny? He's in the chat. Defense stepped up today. Somehow my ceiling for this team is higher than it was before the game. It's weird, right? It's absolutely weird. Purdue's a great team, and you lost by 6, and you were down a possession within the final minute. Of course we should feel like this team, we should feel better about the team than we did, 7 hours ago. Fighting Illini 23. Cody said it all. I'm not mad about this loss, just frustrated. Sad, more sad though. Yeah. Tyler. Only concern is this team hasn't beat any of the top teams they played. Been close, but can't seem to finish. Coleman was asked about it in post-game. Brad was asked about it and just talked about the little things. Like the 2-3 possessions where, they're not getting the loose balls or whatever it may seem. He literally pointed out Terrence Shannon trying to get a run out instead of going to get a rebound. He said that he pointed out that Terrence Shannon Jr. didn't have a defensive rebound tonight, and he was going to have a long conversation with him about that. And, he's not wrong. He said something about how he's the most athletic guy on the court, and that's not wrong either. TSJ's got to get some boards, man. He had 2 offensive rebounds, 0 defensive rebounds. You can get out and run, man, if you go get some rebounds, right? Tim, Domask is going to be a beast. Played his butt off. Good game. Yeah, Domask continues to just blow my mind, man. I've loved watching him. He's probably been my favorite part of the entire season to this point now. And he made some big shots late, man. He's got it, we've had the conversation. We've had the conversation about Marcus Domask or Terrence Shannon, who's the alpha, who's taking the shot late. And I think there's a stretch of the season where I was like, it's definitely Terrence Shannon. And of course, when Terrence Shannon was out, it was definitely Domask. But ever since they came back, at first I was still like, Terrence Shannon is the best player on your team. And I still firmly believe he is the best player on this team. He's the most athletic. He gets to the free throw line. He does all these little things. He's the best defensive two-way guard the best two-way guard in the country, in my opinion. I think that's the best way I can say it. And he does everything on both ends. Domask, you can definitely criticize the defense, but everything he does offensively is just so crafty. Whether it's booty ball, whether it's these drives where, it leads to a pump fake and he's doing a left-handed little hook over Zach Edey. Like, what? And like he has a lot in the bag, man. He's got a lot in the bag, and it's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. He's been a pleasure to watch, man. Spurgeon Cup fan. Bitch away, because you're right. That's right, brother. Thank you. Let's see. What else did you say? For the majority of the game, Illinois was in the driver's seat. And then they weren't anymore. Yeah. It is largely because they couldn't hit certain shots. I'm giving Purdue credit for their defense when it mattered the most, honestly. They couldn't hit any threes in the second half. Illinois ended up going like 4-16 from three, and 3 of them were from Guerrier, who hit all of them in the first half, right? Illinois, their success offensively comes from hitting threes and getting to the basket on driving layups. And you know what? Zach Edey is like 7'5". And how many times did you watch Terrence Shannon, or more specifically Marcus Domask even, drive to the basket, get there, and there's 7'4", 7'5" Zach Edey, just hands up. Like, what do you do, bro? Like, it's one of those things where he's a unique player, and Illinois hasn't had to face anything like that except for the one time at Purdue, right? So they had to adjust to that, and I felt like, again, lost by 6. They did. They were able to still somehow, some way get their offense going and hang with Purdue for most of the second half. But at the end of the day, I think you just got to give Purdue credit for locking in defensively a lot better than they did the first half. Jose, what's up, man? Matt, what's up from Facebook? Good teams hit critical open threes. Purdue seemed to make every critical 3 at the end of the game. You're right. Purdue was 1 of 6 in the first half from behind the arc and 8 of 10 in the second half. Yeah. This is what I'm saying, man. Like, there's no excuse for me on why Illinois lost. I just think Purdue won the game, man. I still think that kick ball that was called a foul in some aspect changed the game. But Illinois was trailing when it happened. They were trailing by 3. Braden Smith makes both free throws. It takes it from a 3-point game to a 5-point game. Okay. I hate that. I also hate the fact that my second gripe was the Coleman Hawkins drive and try to dunk, and Zach Edey quite literally fouled him, got him on the hand, and then stared him down when he quite literally got him on the hand. No call, whatever. I'm not like the refs. I felt like the refs were pretty fair most of the night, but that was a missed call. Could have changed the game. That's just like, that's the thing when it comes to basketball, man. Like, missed calls, no calls, certain moments like that can change the game. And that's why so many people bitch about the refs all the time. And I'm trying not to do that, because at the end of the day, I felt like overall Purdue just won the game because Illinois had their chances. They had many chances to take control of this game, and they just didn't do it. They let Purdue kind of hang around early in that second half. They could let them get going early in the second half, hitting those 2 threes, right? I said Hawkins wasn't aggressive enough. Fact. I said Terrence Shannon wasn't good enough for who he is, for the expectations for Terrence Shannon Jr. If he's going to be a top 15 pick in the NBA draft, he's got to be better than 3 of 13 from the field, brother, right? He can't go 0 of 4 from 3. You need more from your bench. You need more than 7 points off the bench. Justin Harmon, 0 points, right? They had their chances, man. They had their chances, and it is what it is. So, Matt, if Hawkins would have stared Edey down after a huge play, he would have been teed up immediately. Probably. You're probably right. Anyway, that's my spiel, man. like I said, I feel good about Illinois going into Saturday against Iowa. Listen, if there's any spin zone that I need to help myself feel better about the Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament, it's ruining Iowa's NCAA tournament hopes. I fucking hate them, man. And I hate Fran McCaffrey. Okay, hate's a strong word, but I really don't like Fran McCaffrey. So, there's still a lot to like. I feel like the defense is the biggest thing you can take away from this game. You kept them under 80, even though you lost. You kept them under 80, which was something that had been talked about in the national media as so much to where it was a dead horse, right? You even let Wisconsin put up 80 on you. To hold them to under 80, I felt like the defense was great in this game. I felt like it really was. I feel like you can feel good about this team going into Iowa and then into the Big Ten tournament. I think, not saying that you should just buy completely in and believe they're going to be a Final Four team or anything like that. I'm just saying I think you can firmly be encouraged about their hopes to be a second weekend team. Yeah. I think that's fair to say. I think that's absolutely fair to say. So, all right. We're about 41 minutes in. This is the largest crowd I've ever had. The largest crowd I've ever had doing this podcast. So I appreciate all of you who are here. Credit to all of you. Again, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button if you've never been here. Yeah. So I think for me, the last things I'll say is I want to give Coleman Hawkins just his overall flowers for his entire tenure at Illinois. He's the only 4-year guy here, with the transfer portal being what the transfer portal is. So many guys leaving all the time. Brad Underwood getting criticized all the time because of certain guys transferring, whether it be Jaden Epps, whether it be Sky Clark, whether it be Brandon Podsminski, Alan Griffin. There's a long list, right? Adam Miller. Oh God. There's so many dudes that have transferred, and it's not just an Illinois thing. This is just a college basketball thing. To have a guy like Coleman hang around and go through, grow the way he has, you can confidently say that he improved dramatically as a basketball player this year compared to last year and the year before that. His freshman year, he had a very, very small role and basically had no part in that team that was a 1 seed that lost to Loyola, right? He got a lot of good experience from being on that team, I think. Obviously, his sophomore year, he had a bigger role. They won the Big Ten. Last year, that team had a lot of turmoil, and it's probably the 1 year that, that I can somewhat agree with some of the people who aren't fans of Brad. They didn't get the right guys together. That's on Brad, right? Some of them graduate, some of them transfer out. Jaden Epps, Sky Clark, whoever else I'm missing, RJ Melendez. I felt like this year he really took a step forward as a player. To me, he's an NBA player. I don't know his draft stock because I'm not looking at NBA mock drafts on the daily. I got too much going on in my life. Maybe after the season, I'll start to look at it because I'm intrigued to see what happens with him after Illinois. And again, I know he didn't have the greatest senior night. I do think he did as well as he could have defensively against Zach Edey tonight. But the video that Illinois put out a few days ago, him talking about his experience at Illinois and all that, it was really nice. And you just don't see a lot of guys come into a program and stay there all 4 years anymore, man. I think that's why all of us really, really loved Trent Frazier, why all of us really loved Ayo Dosunmu, why all of us really, really loved, other guys, DeMonte Williams, a guy who, was a glue guy, right? We probably are going to feel like that about Ty Rodgers in 2 years. whoever else. Hopefully I feel like that about DGL whenever in Sincere Harris. Like I hope that I'm saying these same types of things for those guys in a handful of years. Coleman Hawkins became a better basketball player every single year with Illinois. Last year, he was a very frustrating player, but that's because he had a bigger role. But he was certainly better than the year before. And then this year, I felt like he really took that big step into becoming a better basketball player. And to see him do it at Illinois, to me, was awesome. On top of that, I think he's great for the game. Sure, I know a lot of people don't like his on-the-court antics. They think he whines too much. They say he complains to the refs too much, blah, blah, blah. I understand, but at the same time, it's not like I've never seen other players whine and bitch to the refs, all right? It is what it is. If I was on the court and going through the emotions, I probably would bitch to the refs too. So I said this earlier in the year that to me, Coleman Hawkins is kind of that guy that all the other fan bases hated. So when I think about those guys for me from other teams, like I couldn't stand Brad Davison at Wisconsin. I couldn't stand all kinds of other dudes. I think of Brad Davison immediately. But like that's what Coleman Hawkins was to other fan bases. And I like embracing a guy like that, man. I like embracing a guy like that. So I understand he doesn't rub everyone the right way. And if you're not a fan of him, that's fine. I fan how you want to fan. But that's why I'm giving him his flowers, because he had a great career at Illinois, in my opinion. Nothing great enough to be put in the rafters or anything like that. But to me, he's one that when he comes back to Illinois, like Myers Leonard did tonight, will, give him a nice round of applause and, remember the good times we had with him, right? So that's what I have to say about that. Speaking of Myers Leonard, the one of the best things I saw on the internet tonight, him chugging 2 beers and was sitting next to Brett Eldridge, by the way. God, how do you lose with those two in the building and Kendall Gill? God. The 89 team was in the building tonight, man. I feel for Stephen Bardo. Had to sit next to Robbie Hummel and have to hold the L tonight, I feel for him. All right. We're almost an hour in. If anything else, feel free to leave a comment. Trying to get all my thoughts out here. Trying to get my thoughts out here. I think as far as looking ahead to Iowa, I'm looking forward to the Terrence Shannon bounce back. You got to remember Iowa's defense sucks. So I expect a big game from Terrence Shannon, especially in response to what Brad Underwood said in postgame tonight. Brad Underwood basically called him out. So I'm looking forward to the Terrence Shannon bounce back. I'm looking forward to everything coming up that we've all been talking about all year. I mean, if Illinois had won this game, they would have needed Purdue to lose their last game, which I didn't think they would have anyway, because they ain't taking no games off, because the last time they did that, they lost to a 16 seed. But, I think most of us have all been just looking ahead straight to success in March, right? And so that's where I'm at. I'm ready to see. I'm ready for these answers to be, or these questions to be answered. And it's now or never, I guess, for at least this team. And if this team isn't at least a second weekend team, I'm going to be incredibly disappointed, man. I will be. I think they're good enough. What sucks is that I think a 3 seed is out of the question now that you lost this game. So they're probably looking more like a 4 or 5 seed, and that means that they potentially would have to play, if they're a 4, they potentially could have to play a 5 or a 12, which can be dangerous in any way, right? In the tournament. And that's annoying. But aside from that, I think they have a great opportunity to get to a second weekend this year. Carl, I hope I'm saying your name right, bro. They need to quit putting Domask in isolation. Let Ty Rodgers have control of point guard. Too much dribbling. My thing about Ty Rodgers in these situations, I will say this, I'll say this in this game, I might actually agree with you, Carl, just because whoever was guarding Domask, especially in that second half, I can't remember who it was, but he was having, he was struggling of getting the ball up the court. It felt like he was exhausting energy getting the ball across half court. So maybe it would have been good to be able, let Rodgers or whoever, Harmon, whoever, bring the ball up, and Terrence Shannon more so than Harmon probably, bring the ball up and get Domask going off the ball, right? So in that aspect, Carl, I don't necessarily disagree, man. So, Nicholas Boyd, Purdue's the only Power 5 offer Braden Smith had, 5'11" and outplays 6'7" Terrence Shannon Jr. as a sophomore. He's a great player, man. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Terrence Shannon Jr. and what he's done in his collegiate career. I just think, sure, maybe teams slept on Braden Smith. Brad Painter didn't. Credit to him. In this particular game, sure, he outplayed Terrence Shannon Jr. in this particular game. But I think they're both first team all Big Ten, in my personal opinion. So they're both two different players, too. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is a better defensive player. But yeah, Smith definitely a better shooter. He definitely had the better shot going tonight. That's for sure. That second half. I don't know. All right. Carl, one more time. Right. And should have kept Goody out. He was lost, but I'm proud of them. Yeah, I mean, 19 minutes, and he only had 3 points. I don't know what's going on with why Goody was out there for as much as he was. If you want me to criticize some Brad decisions, maybe, Goody getting that many minutes and the fact that he didn't really, I know he's out there for spacing, right? But, he took 3 or he took 2 shots, so, why not, give someone else a chance? I don't know, This comes back to the whole fact that Ty Rodgers just doesn't shoot the ball from outside. And when I was watching the broadcast, and Ty Rodgers was shooting free throws early or at some point in that game. And I remember Robbie Hummel and Stephen Bardo talking about how he shoots free throws. And one of them questioned, is it a confidence thing? Because it doesn't look bad. It's almost like they need Ty Rodgers to get more confident as a shooter. I mean, this is it's not necessarily brain surgery to think this. We're in a day and age where you've got to be able to shoot. Ty Rodgers does a lot of things that makes Illinois good and doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. He's a decent defensive player. He gets a lot of rebounds. He had a bunch of offensive rebounds tonight. He had, well, not a bunch, but he had 3 offensive rebounds tonight. And that led to some putbacks, and it led to him getting some free throws, right? So, it's, to me, for his game to fully open up, man, he's got to start at least developing a mid-range jumper, man. The fact that he just doesn't have that, that's why Luke Goody's out there for 19 minutes, right? Because they're not putting Moretti out there in the important minutes of second half. DGL not getting that opportunity, I guess, but that's been a thing all season, him not playing. I'm not necessarily even criticizing the fact that they haven't played him consistently. I think Sincere Harris taking the red shirt is kind of, making us wish that he was playing. But yeah, Luke Goody, that's why he's out there, because he could space the floor. And they got, it's him and Harmon. That's why they're both out there. Harmon's out there for 21 minutes and Goody's out there for 19. Both combined for 3 points. Didn't get any open shots tonight, man. And when they did, they didn't hit them. So I guess my best way to answer that is, why hasn't Dre Gibbs Lawhorn been given bigger opportunity in the rotation? All I've gotten to see is that he has a defensive intensity. He's shown that he can score a little bit, right? Decommitted from Purdue or whatever, and came to Illinois, like, for whatever reason, right? I don't know. I think he's going to get the full opportunity to get a lot of playing time in next season, though. But, obviously Brad wants to play Goody, who's more experienced. Harmon, also more experienced. He's just going with the experienced guys, and that's what he's doing. There's no telling that if they put Dre Gibbs Lawhorn in, that anything different would happen, right? But I do know that he would stretch the floor. Will he guard some of these guys that they're asking Goody to guard better? No, probably not, because Goody's bigger, I think. And I think he could be a matchup problem. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out my ass again. All right, guys. It's been an hour. 260 people watching, man. Thank you to everyone. I hope y'all, if you're new here, I hope y'all enjoyed. Illinois loses 77-71 to Purdue. Hit the like button on your way out, man. Hit that subscribe button as well. Be back on Saturday for Illinois, Iowa. I don't know if we'll do the watch along, but we'll at least do the post game podcast. And hopefully celebrating Illinois closing their season out with a win on the road at Iowa. Man, heartbreaker, absolute heartbreaker. But it is what it is, man. I think we should all just give credit where credit is due to Purdue. I mean, it comes to a point to where that's just what you have. That said, if you guys, I'm not going to blame you if you're just going to hate watch Purdue the rest of the way. I really won't. I know a lot of people who like to root for the Big Ten in the NCAA tournament. I do. All right. But I don't blame you if you just want to hate watch Purdue in the NCAA tournament. I really don't. And to be honest with you, I probably will. I'm just going to admittedly say that I'm going to hate watch them in the NCAA tournament. Say something nice about Matt Painter. He likes the Cubs. He's a season ticket holder for the Cubs. Credit to me. All right. I will see y'all on Saturday. And I hope you all have a good rest of your night. My request or my advice for therapy to get through this loss is multiple beers and Taco Bell. This one feels like a good $20 Taco Bell therapy session. Get that Crunchwrap Supreme. Oh, ooh. Cheesy Gordita Crunch. Yes. That's my advice to you guys. All right. So I hope I see y'all later. See y'all on Saturday. And as always, ILL.